On this planet of 6 billion people, there are 6 billion stories. This is one of them. It's about one man's life. It's about UFOs which he has filmed in the high heavens, and ETs, and orbs, and the gods who created humanity. It's a true story about a man who has come back from the dead to a planet that is undergoing dramatic Earth changes that will affect all of us much sooner than we might care to admit. It is one story among 6 billion stories. It is James Gilliland's story.
Two ships coming in.
Yeah.
I got them both.
Ooh, they're both powered up. Hello.
They're both powering up.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, I got both of them powering up. Got them. Got them. Two ships, a double powering up.
Right. Look at that.
You know, as far as the skeptics, I find it really humorous, basically, because I've had so many experiences. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a real event going on, and the evidence that we have here is overwhelming.
I got them on film. I got the laser, too. The laser's showing up on the film.
See what I mean?
How it's moving.
Blink it with the laser, like 3 and then 2.
What we are seeing against the backdrop of space itself is UFO footage shot over a period of years by James Gilliland, a man who's built a sanctuary near Mount Adams in the state of Washington. James has experienced contact with ETs, off-worlders from other galaxies and dimensions. But he's not the only one to wonder about these visitors from elsewhere.
The main thing is we have professional people that are air traffic controllers, pilots. They know what they're looking at. And Air Force, we've had Air Force base commanders here. They know what they're looking at. And they also know, again, we've had some people that are from the alphabet agencies and skunk works that know what we've back engineered as well. And they said, these aren't ours. One of the ships that we filmed is just beautiful, and it comes in and it's actually pink in the middle, has blue on the outside, turquoise at the top and the bottom. You see these rotating fields on this ship, and it's pulsing like a heart.
Look how bright it is.
I got him.
I don't have them.
I got him. I got him. Check him out, man. He's going.
I got them.
You should see the field around this guy. I got him all the way. Come on, light her up. Do something.
Every time I zoom in, I lose it.
Oh, look at it. Look, he's pulsing now. This is the first UFO on this camera.
And the physicists I had look at this, they said, we have no idea what that is. They said, all we can say is there's extremely high technology involved in this, and electronics, and it's operating in some kind of a light spectrum, and it's beyond anything that we have. A lot of these experiences that I've had have helped me to understand the true nature of man, which is in truth a multidimensional being existing on a vibrational continuum. And almost all the physicists believe right now that we can measure and experience less than 1% of the universe that we live in. There's another 99% out there. They also know, according to the latest superstring theory and things of that nature, that there's at least 11 dimensions out there beyond this dimension. And you look at all the diversity of life in just this dimension alone, and add 10 more dimensions to that, you can imagine what's out there. And if you look at this physical universe we're in, with 200 billion suns with planets revolving around them, and now they know there's at least 500 billion galaxies out there with the same effect. galaxies and universes are being created daily. The creation is ongoing. So I'm just saying, according to the science that we know today, the science is there to explain all of these events, and my experiences fit within that science. But if people just believe they're a body and a personality, that's their reality. It's a very limited reality, but that's their reality, and you can't argue with somebody if they don't have any reference points or the understanding of these other dimensions.
In 1947, over Mount Rainier, Washington, pilot Kenneth Arnold saw a group of flying saucers. Since then, the Washington Cascades have changed dramatically. The eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980 killed scores of people and changed the landscape forever. It's now a tourist attraction. Nearby Mount Adams, where those flying saucers disappeared, is still a focal point of UFO activity. James was drawn there after near-death experiences, contact and abductions.
The beings that we were connecting with were Nordic looking, very advanced, and there was more than one group. They were the ones that were initiating the experience, but there's others involved too with it as well. But those were the childhood experiences. I was here at the ranch for 10 years doing the intense spiritual practices and the meditation work and assisting others in process-oriented work and intersensitivity training. And one day I was in deep meditation and I started hearing communication, a transmission in my head. And it was a beautiful transmission about the awakening and healing of humanity and the earth, and how we have to rise up in consciousness and start living in harmony with each other and the planet, and in the competition and the greed and the separation. And it's a very beautiful message. And I asked, where is this coming from? And because there's many, many levels of consciousness that we can attune to with beings all along those levels. And they said we're actually coming, from fifth and sixth dimension is what we're working in. And they said, but in truth, we're coming from a ship. And that was when I said, okay, I'm done. My imagination is run amok. I quit. I'm going to go out and plant some trees. I need to get grounded here because this is getting too weird. I didn't even make it to the front door when my two sisters came up banging on the door and said, "Did you see it? Did you see it?" And I said, "See what?" And they said, "There was a ship hovering right over the sanctuary here." So that was the first communication I had, where I had to incorporate the ships with my spirituality.
It's been at least a 20-year project for James Gilliland to build his way up from bare dirt to the point that he had at least the shell of a conference hall established on a sanctuary. And although he's had help from some quarters, he's had to deal with opposition from others. But the dream has kept him going, and by mid-2006, he was ready to stage the Science, Spirit, and World Transformation Conference that would include speakers who would throw a bright light on the true history of humanity, the art of diplomacy with ETs, coming Earth changes, and explain what orbs are. It was a conference for open minds and important questions that attracted people from throughout the United States and overseas, all interested in contact, and important questions like, where did we come from, and why are we here? But as Dr. Michael Ledwith, one-time advisor to the Pope, would say,
I think any enlightened being that was visiting this Earth from outside would have felt it was a failed experiment that we had here. Given the wars, the persecutions, all of the retrograde activity that's going on, would it not be better, to let it self-destruct, which, if we hadn't been helped, would have happened.
Many believe life itself arose on Earth exclusively, and that somehow it's man's destiny to populate the vast and empty reaches of space. But ancient texts and legends and teachers tell of a different history, a past in which very advanced civilizations visited Earth, terraformed the planet, created humans through genetic engineering, then left to allow us to evolve at our own pace.
If we understand that the Anunnaki, as they taught us, and all the ancient records that we still have, they came around 432,000 years ago, colonized the planet, were taking huge amounts of gold out, had a rebellion in their gold mines 200,000 years ago. They created us as a species by crossing Homo erectus and their Anunnaki genes.
In the biblical manuscripts, the stories of the creation of the earth
The ancient occupants, the Nephilim, the giants, are just scattered here and there. In the Zohar, in the Kabbalah, they are replete with them. They were not sterilized from these records.
And what the exopolitics model holds is that we live in a highly populated universe, populated by intelligent, evolving civilizations operating under universal law with some form of governance systems mediated by universe politics, and we here on Earth are just now becoming aware of this.
Historically, in conflicts, in wars, what one side, typically what both sides do, is that they depict the other side using these stereotypes of the enemy. And so you create an enemy, you stereotype them. Typically you motivate people to go out and kill those on the other side by inculcating them with this very deep indoctrination of them being the enemy.
Orbs are many different things. They're non-physical beings. They're coming from a higher dimension than we are. When we die, we leave the body, we move up through the spine, we come on out and we blast on out as a light sphere. And we become an orb. So some of these orbs are discarnate beings. Some orbs are ultra-dimensional beings coming from a much higher frequency. Some of the orbs are nature spirits.
You see the way the orbs are fragmenting? They're going into a vortex there. And they start to lose their form. I'm still there, they're sort of dense there. Now you see above my head on the right there? The core of the vortex is beginning to establish. This is spinning. And the orbs have become like shreds of white cloth, disappearing, losing form, going into the torsion field. And this is when it's really beginning to rotate, and there's the vortex fully established.
Now, I've been here 20 years doing intense spiritual work and practices and meditation and anchoring the energy in here, and which is what opened the door to the ET connections. They have the technology to actually, they can take you out of bed physically, put you on the ship, and then put you right back in bed. But it's so vivid what happened is that you would think it was a dream. And they just flew me around the area, and they flew me next to a fire tower. And there's people in the fire tower that were staying there, because you can stay in these fire towers if you make arrangements. And there was an elderly couple and a young boy in there. And so I saw the kid grab some crayons, and he was drawing a picture of the ship. Now the weird part of this is a couple, 2-3 weeks later, I think it's Jeff Gianola's, his name, was doing a special on Town Hall about UFOs in the area. And here's this elderly man there talking about his wife and his grandchild were there in the fire tower, and they finally calmed down and they felt a very loving presence, and the kid actually drew a picture of the ship and he held the picture up. And so I go, oh my God, that was real. I had a golden ball of energy. I was actually in the bathtub at the time, and I said, I'm really tired of all this high-flying activity and the power-ups and the turns and everything. I said, that's all great, but what the heck is my involvement here? Why am I involved in this? I really want to know. And I said, I don't care if this kills me. I need to know the answer to this. 3 gold balls of energy come down and hit me in the chest, and the next thing I know, I'm on the ship, standing there talking to this beautiful being. And her name's Malia, and she's from the Orion Council of Light. And they have these huge golden plasma ships, which we filmed over the center here. And they're very ancient. And when I looked at her, I could see all races combined in one person. And she was extremely loving. The first